I'm here with Monique of Reliqa to talk about their upcoming album, Secrets of the Future. And I wonder what kind of secrets is the future holding for all of us. It comes out May 31st on Nuclear Blast. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me about the record. I've discovered you guys through this record, and I'm honestly blown away. I'm blown
Thank
away
you.
by what you guys have done with this album. And the only question that I really had for myself was, how did I didn't hear about you guys before? So
Oh.
you guys are this incredible hidden secret that Australia is holding back on the rest of the world.
I feel like that applies to a lot of Australian bands, actually. All of us want to be heard, and I'm so grateful that we've reached your ears. Um, it is difficult for Australian bands because we're quite isolated from the rest of the world in terms of Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, the Great Southern Land sort of thing. So it's a lot. There are a lot more roadblocks for us to tour overseas and reach audiences that way. So like it doesn't surprise me that a lot of Australian bands do have this sort of like blanket over them in terms of how they sort of break through the glass ceiling and reach a wider audience. But we're getting there. I'm so grateful that people like you have listened and taken the time. So it's people like you who help us break through that glass ceiling, and reach that broader
Yeah,
circle.
when you guys are putting a band together, when you guys are making music, do you guys have a plan on, okay, we have to conquer Australia first, and then once we conquer Australia, we can take on the world? Do you guys even ever talk about that? Is that something that you guys discuss?
Of course, it comes up all the time because ultimately we do want to be an international band. We want to be touring the world. That's the goal, and we're taking every measure that we have to do to get there. And at the moment I'm pleased to say that it's going well. The trajectory is looking really promising for our overseas ventures. But yeah, Australia is a big, big continent, and it's actually quite a task to do an entire lap of Australia in terms of a tour. And that's why so many bands actually don't do it. Like there are so many territories in Australia that we don't ever get to reach, like if you're thinking all the way south in Tasmania or Northern Territory, which is like Darwin, all of the capital cities of Australia, we don't actually get to reach all of them. Hopefully in our career we'll be able to, do some one-off shows here and there or regional shows sorts of thing. But for now, yeah, at this point in our career, it is really important for us to at least garner the attention of the capital cities. So we're talking Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth if we can get over there. But if we're talking Perth, like that's all the way from the East Coast where we are to the West Coast of Australia. That's about a 5.5 hour flight. It's a big continent. So there are a lot of roadblocks to getting there as well. So that's why it takes a little longer for us to be able to sort of dominate or like conquer the market here as well. But we're going out on a headline tour in June, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, I think you guys are going to do phenomenal, especially considering
Thank
how
you.
great this album is. And the first question that I had, I mentioned this already, secrets of the future. So what secrets does the future hold?
Um, it's a good question, and it's something that we're still trying to figure out, really. I mean, all of us are really. I think that the title "Secrets of the Future" is it sort of has two meanings when it comes to the album. The first I like to think of is a little bit sort of meta in a way, because if you think about it, I mean, our music, we like to brand ourselves as quite a diverse sound and very like forward thinking, quite futuristic, modern, like lots of modern sort of strands of like inspiration coming into our music. It's very we're always sort of trying to be one step ahead of ourselves sort of thing in our music. So I like to think of it as if you want the secrets of the future, they're here. They're in this 12-track album, you know, like I know that it's a little bit of a pat on the back, but there is kind of a joy behind that. It's like we're attempting to unlock the secrets of the future of music in a way through our album here. And it'll be up to you to judge whether we've achieved that or not. But the second sort of part of that title, I think, is sort of more thematic about like the themes and behind the lyrics and behind the album. And it's a very human album, and like as humans we are always projecting our minds onto what's to come, you know. We're terrified of the future and what's to come, and we're begging, you know, the powers that be to change and to evolve so that we don't go down a dark path sort of thing. But there's also, on the flip side, there's this reverence and this beauty and this like eagerness for the future to come. So I think like all of those different emotions that come with looking into the future have sort of been explored in a way on this album. So you've got that fear for the future, you've got the love and desire for what's to come, you've got anger for where we're headed. All those sorts of things go into it.
Before I pressed play on the record, obviously I see the press release and it says progressive metalcore band. And then I start listening to the album. And the question that I have is, are you guys, do you guys see yourselves as a progressive band, regardless of whatever the genre you want to insert in front of it? Do you see yourselves as a progressive band in the music that you create, or the roadmap that you take to get to the end product that you then deliver to the fans? Because I felt as more of the second than the first.
That's so fair enough. And I honestly think it's a little bit of both, really. When it comes to the genre-wise, I like to think of progressive and prog as two different things. Does that make sense? So, you know, like there's prog metal, right? And you think of bands like Carnival, Animals as Leaders, Pliny, Polyphia, bands like that. And we don't necessarily like to sort of lump ourselves into that prog vibe because it doesn't feel quite right. There's more metalcore involved in our music. So then we come to the progressive, and I like to think of progressive as like an adjective that you can tack onto anything. You know, you can have progressive pop, you can have progressive rap, you can have progressive metalcore, like progressive anything. It sort of is more about the mindset behind the music, like you said, for that second, like sort of more the trajectory thing. And it's about the fact that influences come from everywhere, you know, and that can happen to any artist who has a really broad listening mindset sort of thing, and a really just wants to experiment sound, you know, like no matter what genre they're working in. And that's sort of what we're doing with metalcore, like taking metalcore and making it progressive, hence the little amalgamation we've come up with. But I hope that answers your question. It definitely is a little bit of both, I think.
So when you guys are writing a song, do you get to a point where you look at the song and there's no song that doesn't fit you? Or if you're writing a song and the song feels perhaps slightly outside the box, not that I think your music is in the box to begin with, because I think you guys are very
Yeah.
diverse, but if it's a little bit outside the box, do you then tweak it to be a little bit closer to the box?
I think we write music that we want to hear, really, is the bottom line kind of thing. We all four of us have very different music styles and music tastes that we enjoy. And when that comes together, there is a lot of compromise involved, kind of fitting things inside certain boxes, etc. But I wouldn't say that we're trying to like fit a mold. We definitely do notice when a demo is progressing and it doesn't feel like us. Like then we'll adjust it, and there'll be some pre-production involved that helps us like gear it towards something that feels more us and more true to our identity. But it's more of an unspoken thing. It's more like a feeling. You can feel that it feels right, rather than, oh, it doesn't have a breakdown, so it's not us, so we need to add a breakdown. It's not like ingredients that make the product. It's more like, just, does this feel like something that we could vibe with? Does this feel like something we could do on stage and people would react to? Like, and yeah, so it's very unspoken in a way.
It's more of a feel, more of a vibe.
Exactly, yeah. And it's so like we've been working together for so long now, because we started as a high school band. You know, we've known each other since we were 12, 13 years old. And because we've been working so long together, we just know, like, we know when things are working. We know when, say, oh, I'll bring a demo to the table that I don't know if Miles is gonna like because he likes XYZ, or Brandon might change this and that sort of thing. Like we know each other, and so we can tell when the vibe isn't working with a particular song. So then we either work on it more, or we scrap it, or we change. Yeah, and we like to be open-minded really with our process.
Watching the music videos that you guys have released, the thing that I've noticed is that you guys have an image. At least in the videos, there's an image that comes across that I feel like it helps represent the band. And I think in the modern days in which we live in, the music obviously is number one. People come for the music, but we live in a visual world where the image of a band is almost as important as the music they're creating, or at least as important in terms to tell the story that you're doing through your
Mhm.
music. Is the
Yeah.
image that you guys showcase in your music videos something that you guys thought out? Is that something that you guys have worked on?
I'm so glad you're asking about this, because there was so much thought behind the imagery, in particular for this campaign. Um, and because you're absolutely right. Like, in order to get people engaged these days, and with new technology emerging, and with social media being such an important part of the campaigning process, image is everything too. Like, I mean, of course you have to have good music to go with that. And that's ultimately like what you're doing. But we knew going into this campaign that we wanted to take some steps up with the imagery. So yeah, like all the music videos that we've done, including the one that's coming out tomorrow. I'm not sure when this is going to be published, but
Oh, it'll
at
be
the
out by then. It'll be out by then.
oh, brilliant, cool. Well, Dying Light will be out by then, but so all three music videos that we've done, they're all they all align with a particular aesthetic that we were going for this album, and all of it was very modern, you know, high shine, like sort of futuristic, and we, without leaning too far into any sci-fi, except Killstar was a little bit sci-fi. We've got like a sort of a character involved in that. It's very like sort of dystopian vibes, that one. But overall, yeah, like we intentionally did go in with a lot of thought into the visuals. Shout out to Colin Jeffs, our videographer. He really helped us shape it all. And also our stylist, Bridget Parker. She had a huge role in like just stepping up the aesthetics, and like in the photos, and the like, and what what we were wearing as an ensemble. Because like these days I think that there's so much room in metalcore, and in the heavy space for amplified style, like elevated style. And I think people are starting to latch onto that now. Like, I mean, it's one thing to chuck on a black t-shirt and jeans and call it a day, you know, that works for some. But then you think about bands like Spirit Box, for example. They're doing some really nice work. And Bring Me the Horizon is another great example of bands who are like integrating clothing into their overall like message and theme and aesthetic. And it's just like I have like heart eyes when I'm looking at those images and stuff. So we really wanted to take strides in that direction as well.
I want to ask you about your voice, because when I was listening to the album, it was almost like I was listening to different versions of you, depending on which song I was listening to. And I thought that some moments I was like, wow, I hear a little bit of Dolores from the Cranberries. Then I'm like, oh, I hear a little bit of Amy Lee from Evanescence. Oh, no, I hear a little bit of this. And your ability, to me, this that comes from your ability to be both warm and cold, almost sometimes at the exact same time with your vocal delivery. So have you done any training that allows you to have this ambiguity in terms of your tone and how you approach the vocals?
Firstly, I'm so humbled by everything you just said. Like it's so nice to hear that you feel that. So thank you. Like huge compliment. I trained a little bit as I was sort of on the precipice of becoming a vocalist. Like I was around the age of 17 to 18, and I was just sort of coming into my own. Reliqa was just starting out, and so I knew that there were tools and skills that I wanted to learn. So I did partake in some coaching for a little while, which was really good because it just helped me learn some of the fundamentals and like mainly vocal health. Like the health was a big thing behind the coaching. But then since then I actually haven't undergone any training. A lot of it has just been like personal study, you know, like case studies in what the voice can do, and experimentation, and listening to a huge variety of music. You mentioned Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries. That's like, she's incredible, and you wouldn't think of them as a reference for Reliqa because the styles are just so different. But everything I listen to, I take something from it. And I, you know, practice. I like my car is my sanctuary when it comes to practicing vocals. Like I'll just, if I've got a long drive, I'll just chuck on a playlist that has a bunch of different sounds, and I'll just be singing, and I pick up a lot that way. It's This is another thing that's quite tricky to explain, and it comes back to that sort of feel rather than calculation sort of thing. So much of it is just intangible. It's something that goes without words. It's just you're presented with a sound, you know, with a song with no vocals, and I really just try to treat it as a bit of a canvas, like a blank canvas, and a little bit of this color here, a little bit of this color there, and whatever serves the song is what I'd like to do. And I think that something quite interesting is that because I don't scream, well, I mean, I do some like sprinkle some harsh vocals here and there, and I'll get to that in a second. But overall, I don't scream. It's mostly clean vocals, like singing and rap, or spoken. And at first I thought that that was like, I used to get myself down about that. I used to feel really insecure about the fact that like I'm entering this heavy music sphere, but I can't do the one thing that heavy vocalists do. You know what I mean? So originally I had, yeah, heaps of insecurity about that, but eventually I came to realize that it doesn't have to be a weakness. It can be a strength, you know, like it's about having limitations, but like using those limitations for your advantage, and really, so that means that everything you do is purposeful rather than going, oh, here's like an 8-bar beat down section, heavy vocals, chuck them on sort of thing. It's a no-brainer kind of thing. I instead go, okay, here's an 8-bar beat down section. I don't scream, so what can I do that'll feel right with that really heavy instrumentation? And so yeah, I'll just try different techniques and see what sticks, really.
I think what you're saying is something that I tell my son all the time, which is lean on your strengths, not on your weaknesses, because I think
Yes,
that's the path
exactly.
to success.
That's a great message to send. Yeah, and it's something that I hope that I'm putting forward as well by speaking about this, you know, because there are tons of vocalists out there who have ailments and things that make it a lot more challenging. But it's not about having all of this. It's about having this and using it really well. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's not about having every technique under the sun. It's about knowing what to do with the techniques you do have.
I actually, one of the things that blew me away was the fact that you didn't have harsh vocals, but you had such a great range, and you had such great emotion within that range that you're able to tell a lot by saying very little, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely, yeah.
that was one of the things that actually impressed me, because you didn't fall prey to the, oh, here I go, I got to do some harsh vocals because this is the
That's right.
like, I actually appreciate the fact that that was not the case. So to me, it felt more risque, if you will. It felt,
Totally.
more audacious. Like like, and that what's at the end of the day, to me, that's the essence of metal, is to taking risks and thinking
Risks,
outside the
yes.
box, and not worry about what other people think, and just going for it. And speaking of not worrying about what other people think, those rap vocals, what, like, tell me about that. Like, were you watching Eminem 8 Mile, and then you're like, you know what?
I love that movie.
I can be Bunny Rabbit or whatever his name was. I can totally do some of that.
Classic. It actually flows perfectly on from the conversation we were just having about limitations and like knowing what to do in you know, heavy sections where screams would usually be, sort of thing. So for me, I use rap as a tool kind of thing to navigate those like this heavy environment in a way that suits my voice and I think, you know, just is within my range sort of thing. So it just happened. Like I remember the first time that I rapped on a demo. I was exclusively singing before this, and this is super early, like early days. You know, before we'd released anything, we were just like tracking songs for fun and whatever. Writing music, and then that eventually flowed on to releasing music. Um, and I remember like being like approached with this sort of like really riffy, like almost Parkway Drive type section, very metalcore. And I was just like, I tried singing over it and it just sounded really like dull, I think, like, and it just lacked energy, you know, like something that harsh vocals have that's like so fantastic is that force, that anger, like that punch to it. And so I sort of, yeah, I was just doing this, and then I tweaked it a little bit, and the lyrics became faster, and eventually it was more like speaking, and it just sort of like, I remember like tracking like basically a rap, and me and Miles we looked at each other and we are like, that's kind of sick. Like I can't even really say who explicitly like inspired me in the beginning to start using rap. I just sort of started doing it because it felt like the right thing to do over heavy vocals. But now, because it's more intentional and now I've honed in on the craft a little bit, I definitely have some amazing references that I like to lean on. Like I love Doja Cat, like her really conversational style of flow is amazing, and something I've leaned in on songs like Cave, for example. I love, look, there's even heavy vocalists doing it, like I actually think Garrett from Silent Planet is really great at that like spoken word, like more talking than screaming sort of thing, and it's over these heavy these heavy instrumentals. So yeah, it just sort of, for me it was just a tool originally, like a tool to navigate heavy sections of writing, and now it's more like a straight or a fixture within our music, and something that people identify with us. So yeah, I won't be losing it anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, you played a show, at least one show. I don't know if it was more than one with Hailstorm,
Yes.
and we all know what badass Lizzie Hill is. Did she have any advices for you?
Lizzie is just the best person. And yeah, we played a couple of shows with them. We played in Sydney and we played in Brisbane. So yeah, it was only two, so it wasn't quite a tour, but it was still a fun little run with them. Um, oh my gosh, I feel like I learnt so much from her, even without her explicitly saying, "Here's my advice for you," sort of thing. We got a good couple of chances to chat and hang out over those 2 days, which was amazing. And I don't recall explicitly asking her for like, hey, can you give me some advice on this? But like, I just picked it up regardless. Like, she actually at the time was going through, I think like a chest infection or something like that. So she was really struggling, on that tour. And I was really feeling for her because God, that is just the biggest kick to, you know, confidence and self-esteem. And it's such a scary thing going on stage, not knowing how the set's going to go because of your illness. But the way that she just like approached it with such grace um and such she was so gentle with herself. I think that was something that I picked up from her really well. I loved that she was patient with herself, and she was patient with everybody, and just I think she has this lust for life and just this constant gratitude for the opportunity of what she's doing. So even though they're massive now, Grammy winning band, she's still so humble, and she still, you know, takes the time to thank the support bands and to go easy on herself when she needs to, and like just take it slow sort of thing, despite the fast-paced lifestyle. And I just, yeah, I really respected that. I learned a lot from her.
And it's nice to have the opportunity to play with a band like that because I think that could also help you guys when it comes to your live shows and you know, playing
Exactly.
in general. Last question for you. I know you mentioned that that Australian tour run that you guys are going to have. Are you
Yes.
planning anything beyond Australia? And I don't mean New Zealand. I mean New Zealand is just a skip thrones away. So a
Yes,
little bit
you're
further
right.
away, further
Yeah.
away.
It's absolutely on the cards, and I'm thankful to say that we have the right team in place now to get us over there. You know, we have representation all over the world now, which is incredible. So it's really only a matter of time. We're a band that likes to take our time and strike while the iron's hot, and make sure that if we're doing this, it's going to be worthwhile, sort of thing. Because like it can be make or break going from Australia to Europe, or anywhere in the world really. But like going from taking the leap from Australia to, I'll just use Europe as an example. Just because of the it's such a marathon doing that, and it's such a distance. So we want to make sure that like, yeah, because it can be make or break, so we want to make sure it's more make than break, you know, like we go with the right band at the right time after we've laid the groundwork in Australia to help us get there. So all I can really say is like the future is looking so bright for our overseas career, and it is coming. Like I can practically guarantee that for you, as close to guarantee as possible. Obviously nothing in this world is a guarantee, so I won't give you the 100%, but
Just taxes and death.
that's right. So apart from that, like it's definitely happening. It's just a matter of when, really. Yeah.
Well, I hope it's soon. Let me
Me
finish our
too.
conversation by saying that congratulations on this record. I love the fact that you guys created an album that doesn't follow stereotypes, that doesn't fall prey to those stereotypes, and that feels so refreshing, that feels so engaging, so interesting. I can't remember the last time I've heard a band, and I was so blown away by how good the experience was of listening to a 51-minute record.
So
Like
true.
it doesn't sound like it's 51 minutes of music. It sounds like it's half an hour because it's so good that you're
Well,
really enjoying the ride that you're on.
thank you so much. That means so much to hear. I'll never be tired of that sort of feedback. Yeah, it's a long record, but I'm so glad that it does feel fast in my eyes too. So I'm glad that that translates.
Yeah, it has the right ebbs and flows that almost speeds up the album, and you're not looking at the clock. You're just really enjoying
Hmm.
the songs, and you're just enjoying the journey. So congratulations on the record. I love it. May 31st, Nuclear Blast, where I am. I think in Australia is being released by somebody else, but I know on my
Grayscale
side.
Records.
Thank you.
There you
On
go.
my side of the planet, it's Nuclear Blast. I absolutely love this album, and I love what you guys are doing. So, thank you for bringing a little bit more of Australia to the world. I rather listen to you guys than Aussie Men reviews. So, thank you for giving me another Australian outlet.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have an amazing day.